The first human who shared food with a stranger did not simply give away a meal. They placed the future of the entire group into the hands of someone they did not know. Most of us imagine kindness appearing after humans became safe, after the fire was warm, the hunt was successful, and everyone had enough. But kindness may have become powerful for the opposite reason, because nobody was safe, and nobody had enough for long. Imagine a time long before borders, money, written promises, or police. Your group is your shelter, your memory, and your only protection. Outside that circle, every unknown person could be competition. They could take your hunting ground, expose your camp, carry disease, or return with others. Then, one evening, a stranger appears. They carry no meat. They speak differently. Perhaps their group is gone. Perhaps they were pushed out. Perhaps they are only pretending to be weak. Behind you, a child is already waiting for food. The question is not, are you generous? The question is, whose hunger are you willing to risk? That conflict still lives inside us. We want connection, but fear being used. We admire generosity, but worry that kindness makes us look weak. So we wait for trust to become certain before offering anything. It begins when someone accepts a controlled risk. The giver cuts a small portion from the meat. Several adults react with anger. The giver places the food on a flat stone, not close enough to be grabbed from her hand, but close enough for the stranger to reach. This is not blind trust. The spears remain nearby. The children remain behind the adults. The portion is small. But the answer is no longer completely no. And what happens next looks like proof that the group made a terrible mistake. The stranger takes the food and leaves. No gift, no promise, no visible repayment. By the end of this story, you will understand why that apparently unequal exchange may have contained one of humanity's greatest survival advantages, and why the most valuable thing shared beside that fire was not the meat. To understand the giver's decision, remember that ancient food was uneven. One hunt could produce more meat than a family could eat. The next several hunts could produce nothing. A large animal is valuable, but difficult to hide, defend, carry, and preserve. Meat attracts predators and arguments. Without reliable storage, part of the reward can disappear before its owner uses it. The strongest hunter could possess the carcass today and still be hungry after the next failed hunt. This is where sharing stops looking like pure generosity. It becomes a way to move food through time. I feed you when my hunt succeeds. If yours succeeds when mine fails, the relationship feeds me back. Not necessarily tomorrow, not necessarily in equal pieces, but across an unpredictable life. Researchers describe several forces behind human food sharing: family care, exchange, reputation, and insurance against bad luck. No single rule appeared in one moment, but the central problem was simple. Hunting was too uncertain for isolation to be safe. Studies of mobile hunter-gatherer cooperation have found that sharing food with related and unrelated camp members can buffer unpredictable hunting returns. A successful hunter does not remain successful every day. Today's producer can become tomorrow's dependent. Archaeology cannot show us the first shared portion, but it does preserve the physical conditions that made cooperation valuable. At Kangera South in Kenya, roughly 2 million years ago, early humans repeatedly processed animal carcasses. Stone and food resources were moved across the landscape to places where activities occurred again and again. Later sites preserve controlled hearths where people gathered. Around a fire, food could become more than calories. It could become a public event, visible, remembered, discussed, and divided. The person who refused every request might keep one extra portion, but they could lose something larger: the willingness of others to share when their own luck changed. But this still does not explain the stranger. Sharing inside your group protects you from bad hunting days. Feeding an outsider appears to protect someone else, unless the outsider is carrying a resource that cannot be seen. And that invisible resource is where the story changes. The hunt fails. Then it fails again. Tracks disappear from the familiar valley. The water in the shallow pool turns dark. is now losing something far more dangerous: options. Then the stranger returns, not with an animal, not with an apology, with information. Beyond the ridge, a herd has changed direction. A spring still runs between two walls of stone. Another group has seen smoke near the old route. The stranger knows because the stranger has walked through a world this group cannot see from its own camp. The food lasted minutes. The knowledge could keep them alive for weeks. This exact meeting is imagined, but the survival principle is real. Human beings exchange more than calories. We exchange maps, warnings, skills, stories, tools, and access. An outsider can know what everyone inside your circle has missed. By at least 130,000 years ago, archaeological evidence shows resources moving roughly 300 kilometers, 186 miles. Shells and other materials traveled far from their natural sources. Objects moved because information and relationships moved with them. The landscape was larger than any one group's memory. A network allowed many memories to overlap. This may be the deeper value of sharing with someone unfamiliar. The action creates a bridge before you know when you will need to cross it. The stranger may never repay the original person directly. They may help that person's child, warn another camp that later warns yours, or carry useful knowledge between valleys. Cooperation does not always move in a straight line. Sometimes it returns through a network from a direction you could never predict. And this is why the giver's action was not simply soft-hearted emotion. It was the beginning of a larger definition of survival. The group was no longer asking only, "What do we possess?" They were learning to ask, "Who might remember us?" But there is a dangerous mistake hidden inside this lesson. If every stranger receives unlimited trust, the group does not become wise. It becomes vulnerable. So how could generosity grow without rewarding deception? The answer was not an open gate, it was a door. Notice what the giver did not do. She did not hand over every piece of food. She did not move the stranger beside the children. She did not throw away the group's ability to defend itself. She offered a small test. Then the group watched. Did the stranger take only what was offered? Did they respect distance? Did they return? Did their warning prove true? Did they remember the group when circumstances changed? Human trust could grow one observed action at a time. Memory turned behavior into reputation. Stories shared that reputation, while boundaries limited the cost of being wrong. This is the difference between generosity and surrender. Generosity gives another person an opportunity to reveal their character. Surrender ignores what they reveal. The first shared meal did not erase danger. It created a way to learn without gambling everything at once. Over generations, small exchanges could expand the human circle, from family to camp to allies across the landscape. Not every encounter ended peacefully, and not every gift was returned, but groups capable of dependable relationships gained refuge, tools, knowledge, warnings, and alternatives when their own environment failed. That is the final truth hidden inside the title. The first human who shared food with a stranger did not know they were changing humanity. They were solving one immediate problem. A hungry person stood outside the firelight, but the solution contained a new possibility. Someone did not have to be family yet to become part of your future. And if this sounds like ancient history, look at the way we live now. Your food may be money, time, knowledge, attention, or a second chance. You still face the same fear. Will I be used? The ancient answer is not to trust everyone. It is to stop demanding perfect certainty before practicing any generosity. Start with a portion you can afford. Keep your boundaries. Watch what the other person does. Let trust grow from evidence. And remember that not every meaningful return comes directly back to you. Offer without destroying yourself. Observe without becoming cynical. Remember behavior. Expand trust when it is earned. Because a person who keeps everything may feel protected today, while quietly sending their future into the world alone. If this story changed the way you see human kindness, watch the next video. The first human who refused to abandon the injured, because that decision may have changed human survival forever. Humanity did not become powerful when we learned to keep what was ours. We became powerful when a stranger's survival could become part of our own.